My name is Fatima Sayed. Originally, my name was Trudy Ears, which means the arch of heaven. So I had a good name even before, but the one I got afterwards was better than that. And I was born in Germany into a very kind of religious family. They were Catholics, and my father, he studied music, and for that reason, he lived in Berlin with the bishop, so for that reason, he was very particular about his religious. Though my father was religious, but my mother was more spiritual. And for that reason, she understood my problem when I became a Muslim in India and also became a Muslim herself, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, we had a wine factory. I was brought up on wine. But of course, the minute I became Muslim, I never had any of those things. Then I went to England. I worked in a bank. I went to England and I met Muslims. And there I found really life, And of course, we are born Muslim, but not believers. So I wanted to be a believer, to follow the Quran. When I read the Quran, which was problem to find even at that time, in England 58 years ago, Islam was not known. My mother never heard of it, because the Quran was forbidden by the Protestant, and the Catholics never encouraged to read it. And my father said, don't ever read that book. It is the religion of Shaitan. So that is how they turned Islam against it, even in the Middle Ages. So people don't even approach that religion. But when I became Muslim, I wasn't a terrorist, I was a heathen. Oh, you don't believe in God anymore? I said, no, I have a prophet more than you. What are you talking about? You're outdated. I'm up to date now. When I found Islam, my life really started, and I wanted to, live the pure Islam. And Alhamdulillah, I married a Muslim after many problems I had at home, of course. I understood that there was something greater than what I believed. It was not fulfilling my life. I was religious. It was very important to me, religion. And of course, when I became Muslim, I said, religion is really your best friend in life. Of course, when I started reading Quran, first I thought, because we are so injected with this Christian religion from childhood, and that it's very difficult to give up and approach a new religion. So first I thought, I could be both religion, I don't have to give up anything because I believe in Jesus. But you see, then I realized that really our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came to organize religion. It's like to me, it was like putting numbers on top of each other. One number doesn't mean anything. The end result means something, and this was the end result. He came to rescue the Prophet from the falsehood they were teaching us, to say that how I worked it out. I was always a controversial, I thought I cannot be free unless I can think differently. And that's what sort of pushed me towards. I said, I don't care, I'm going to do the right thing now. But when I came in Islam, I realized that you can go astray also in Islam, right? There are many different sects in Islam, and they say, then when I married my husband, I said, I don't want to be your religion because I want to make sure. Then I studied the lives of the Ahlulbayt, and, that cuts down your question altogether, and I saw that every law in Islam had a right, and every right has a light. And if you put the light on a law and understand it, Islam is not to fight. Islam is bigger than us. And the thing which I kept sort of going back to, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that the universe submits to me. I said, the whole universe submits to Allah? Then why I don't submit? Because we are our free will. By my body submits to Allah. Why can I? Islam must be something so big that, we have to, this is the most important thing. So I solved my own question by also the sunnah of the Prophet. I understood that, the laws in the Quran are there, like to do, the reward and the punishment, but the life, our Prophet was the model, and also the Ahlulbayt, they were the model for us to follow. They understood the meaning of it. Laws are not the guidance alone. We need models. And then, of course, when I read the tragedy of Karbala, then I said to my husband, which side were you on? This side or that side? And then I read when Imam Hussein, he addressed the party of the people who destroyed the family, who tried to destroy the family. He addressed them, he said, oh, you Shias of Abu Sufyan. I said, oh, no, I'm not following Abu Sufyan, I'm following the Prophet. So it became very clear. I had no problem with, finding that guide. I went back to Germany after 1 year, and my mother said, oh, you better stay here because you were only allowed to go 1 year. I said, I have to go back. I said, I left some stuff in London. I did. It wasn't a lie, but nothing I had to go and collect. But then I went to St. George's Hospital back, and I said for a job as a helping nurse, because I wasn't a trained nurse. But at that time, we had to either work in a family or in a hospital to have a visa to stay in England. It was not common. We're talking about 60 years ago now. So this hospital said, we have a job, but we have no place in the hostel to keep you. Then the one Spanish girl, she stayed there. She called back. She said, I don't mind sharing with the German girl till she has her own room. So I went to her room, and she said, oh, why don't you come with me to my sister? She's married to a Muslim. She lived near the airport. Oh, I said, today I'm very tired. I traveled all the way from Germany. I came by boat and train. And then I said, I come next time. So I went to her a few days later, and my husband, he had a room in that house, and he came upstairs to say goodbye. He was going on a scooter to Germany on a holiday. And when he walked in the room, I wanted to marry him straight away. Of course, I saw the big problem in front of me. I said, no way my parents will let me. I can hide that I'm a Muslim, but I can't hide that. Anyway, that is how I met my husband, and then we met, and he came to Germany, and he asked my father, and my father cried. He went to the church. My mother said, I've never seen him cry, but today, because he was also a good, friend of the priest, and he was that kind of a Catholic. So, but I said to my husband, okay, to my father, if you don't want to give me anything, that's okay with me. I have other priorities, and when I read in the Quran, I never stopped reading Quran. Every minute I was at it, because I wanted to make sure I'm choosing the right path here. That if you don't love the Prophet more than your own family, I said, I do, so I have to give it up. It doesn't matter. They will come around later, So my mother said, oh, he's a good man, marry him. And but my father, he loved him later on. They loved him very much. He was a good man. He was a good model for me, and he said the right thing. He never forced me, but he taught me everything. Yeah, alhamdulillah, yeah. It was difficult for my parents. I realized that we were quite popular. Everybody knew me, knew my father. My father was the mayor for 8 years there. On top of playing the organ, he had a big factory. I used to drive a sport car. I was kind of, everybody knew me, and knew me as somebody, people liked me, even though I was, I was quite controversial. But then they said to me, "Oh, you became a heathen because if you're not a Catholic, you can't go to heaven, right?" And the priest, he came to my house, and then he wanted to shake hands with me. I said, "No, I don't shake hands." Man, he said, "How can you?" And of course, my father, he fully agreed with the priest. And he said, "How can you accept a religion which has no rights for women?" I said, "Okay, I know your religion, but you don't know my religion, obviously." I said, I accepted a religion which has rights for women while you have none. I said, "Tell me one law in the Bible which supports the woman." None. And I said, to me, even when it comes, and then he challenged me on Jesus being the Son of God. I said, "Okay, let's put it this way. Maryam, alayhi salam, was born from a woman. She was a woman delivering a man. If God was her father, was the father of Jesus, when did he ever marry Mary? Then he must have married her. She can't be the father unless he's married to Mary. When is your marriage day?" Okay, he got stuck, because I put it in a way that he couldn't get out of it. So I said that Jesus, either you elevate a man to the status of God, or God to lower him to a status of a human being. So I said, "You don't make sense." And he said, "Oh, we don't understand that." I said, "Look, religion is not magic. Religion is logic. If it's not logic," I said, "I understand what you're saying, but it can't be understood." So I quite challenged, and my father, sometimes he felt that, well, you're making sense, but we should not believe it. It was like that. Yeah, I had quite a hard time, but not for that long. They loved my husband. They saw he was a good man and taking good care, And my children, I brought them up all with hadith. Every time they asked me a question, I brought a hadith of Fatima salam, or Imam Hussein, or Imam Ali. I mean, we have 11,000 hadith of Imam Ali. We're not short of knowledge, Our Imams, they were there for 200 years, while others didn't have anybody to guide them, So, yeah, we have, we can't complain about that. We see Quran is the law of the universe. We are part of the universe. We are born maybe Muslims, but we are not born believers. That you have to achieve yourself. Okay, let's put it this way. That much I understood. If you don't follow Quran, you're a sinner. And I did not want to die as a sinner. I was very strict with myself, more strict than I was with my children. I tried to be, show them this is the way it is done. And you see, like Imam Ali said, which is really, if you think about this hadith, it is very important. It said that the darkness of human life cannot be penetrated without Quran. We cannot understand, there is a difference between in believing in God and having understanding Tawheed. Tawheed is something more complete. Tawheed is to understand Allah. To understand one thing is that, okay, what is Tawheed? It means one thing, never to imagine Allah, because we have not the capacity to understand Allah, who had no beginning and no end, but His creation proves His existence. So we don't have problem with that, and we have not created ourselves. And the other thing, if you see, if you don't follow the law, if I do what I think, then I'm my own prophet. I have my own religion. I wanted to follow the Quran in a pure way, and also cut out all these traditions. And when it comes to women, hijab is not a restriction to me, it's a restriction for you. What I let you see and what I not let you see. I'm not restricted, you're restricted, right? And when you're driving a motorbike, you to protect yourself from injuries. And the hijab is to protect yourself from lustful men of thinking or looking. Why should a man judge me? I said, why should I am not here to please people in the street. I'm here to please my husband and my creator. So the hijab was, when I got around to that, mind you, I did not wear hijab. I didn't think it was that important, that's how simple we are. We just thought, we do eat halal and, be good to. But when Imam Khomeini came, he put the hijab on us. That's right. And when I lived in Kuwait, I lived on the beach. I could see the people swim. We had a beautiful position. And in the morning, I used to go to the beach and walk. And then I looked at the sky one morning and I saw only one star. I said, oh, if that star falls, there's no star in the sky. Can we see stars anymore? You know what? That star came down. It was coming down in front of me. I went home and woke up my husband to go to work. I used to go very early in the morning. I said, I want to go for Hajj. And he arranged everything that day, and we went for Hajj. My son was 9 years old then, and he performed Hajj and all that. But after I put on hijab, I really felt now I'm a moment, and I tried my best to, I said, whatever pleases Allah, And I said, what hardship in this life does it mean when Allah gives you paradise forever? Is it something, a price we're paying? No. And I really, hijab is not, wasn't, once I put it on, nobody could have taken it off me, Yeah, hijab is important. It is important. But we were in Canada, and my son, he said, I want to know my religion so well that I practice it properly. Then I said, okay, let's all go to Iran. And we sold the house, and we had a beautiful home, and nobody thought, oh no, you will not sell this house and go. And we had, alhamdulillah, when we went, I had money for my father, and we had a house here we sold, so we were able to buy a very beautiful house, cash. We had $500,000 at that time. We didn't need a mortgage. I didn't want to have interest, get involved. I was very careful about my thing. And Allah gave me the opportunity, of course. Allah guided us. And so then my son, he studied there for 12 years in Iran. And he became and he was quite a genius. He used to go only to American school because of the places we lived. And he had these American schools, they come all under one umbrella. So he twice running, 2 years, he had a award, I should say, from President Bush, not the last donkey, the one before, as outstanding student. And in every school, he was always the best. Even in Qom, when he studied there, he was the best in akhlaq and the best in philosophy, and he was always very good. And that made him, like, when he spoke, he was teaching. And I used to have a group in my house every Thursday night. I used to make 3 German cakes every Thursday and cook food for them, about 30 people every week. And I enjoyed doing that. It was in English. I used to do the perspective and the hadith. And I had one friend, she was Iraqi. She was a dentist, but she was very well read in Quran. So she used to do the tafsir of Quran. And we enjoyed it. And the people, they said, our life has changed in your house because I see things, differently, maybe not bad, but differently. And they, I taught them how to cook Pakistani food, German cake, I enjoyed life in Iran very much because I have such good friends And I know who's good and who's not good, you know. You see, there is not an occasion where we haven't got a hadith of the Prophet or Imam Ali to support us, or Fatima alayhi salam. And I built my children's life on that, on the hadith, and also the hadith Qudsi, what Allah said to the Prophet, and he told us in his way. Of course, the language of Prophet is not the language of the Quran. It is, he got it from the understanding from Allah, and he gave it to us in his language. And that makes it easier for us to understand. See, Imam Ali alayhi salam said that you will not gain Iman till you know the one who abandoned it. Like when you see Muslim coming into the West, and then they adopt a Western way of life. You see, if you're a good Muslim, you're also a good citizen. But if you're a good citizen, you're not necessarily a good Muslim, because we have, you might be legal to a country, but you're not legal in the eyes of Allah. Allah's law are above all. Islam is above everything. And the thing is, submission is the thing. When Shaitan didn't submit, Allah said, Shaitan said, oh, I will worship you better than anyone, more than anyone. He did before. He understood Allah very well, Shaitan. And Abu Mura was his kunya, his title was and Iblis. So Allah said, I don't need your prayers, I need your submission. And that is what we have to keep in mind, to submit. If you're coming into Islam, and sometimes, you know, people are tempted to say, oh, it's so difficult, I don't want to do that. One thing, if you follow some of the laws and not others, that means you're not stable. You're not stable yet in your mind, and you haven't got your goal, because it's the time is taking us towards our goal, not our deeds. There we will answer for, but its time is taking us there, and it might be short, might be long, and we cannot, this is Allah's secret when we will die. So what I would say, patience is something, it's from Allah. If Allah, like guidance, Allah said only I can guide, no one can guide. You can remind them, that's important. And then I'll guide them if they're patient. But patience, Allah says clearly in the Quran, if you're patient, one thing, you will become patient. And the other thing is, I will support you. You know, I will, what is the word? I'll help you in your patience, because you're on your own, you might give up. So if you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't go wrong, because He guides according to who you are. And it said, you know, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that everyone acts according to his character. Character is not changeable, it's flexible, you know, it stretches. Like Goethe said in Germany, the character cannot be changed. And, you know, even Aristotle, people 400 years before Christ, or when Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam was asked, how about character, but people change, he could not say. He said, okay, under normal circumstances, it cannot happen. And it will stretch, but the character, it is in our genes. Who we are, how long we live is in our genes. If it wasn't in our genes, we would go on living forever. But it is controlled already, it's here and there, you know. And your faith, I mean, you have already decided before you came to this world without knowing, but you have to go for it. You have to, you know, don't ever give up, because Islam is, religion is the best friend. It's your best friend, you know. My mother, she used to say to people, you know, Trudy, my name before, Trudy, she has no problem. She knows exactly what to do. And when I used to, whatever I did, I said, the Prophet used to say this, the Prophet said this. So she used to say to me, what did the Prophet say in the end? And when she came to Abu Dhabi, she said, I don't want to die as a Christian. How do I become a Muslim? I knew all my life that was the right path. I was not feeling good, but so I did it simple. I said, you do the Shahada, and I did the Shahada with her. And it was difficult for her to pray, you know. These movements, we do them all live. We are used to that exercise. It's a good exercise. But when you're in old age, she was 80 when she became a Muslim. And she died as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, yeah. I was still in London at that time, and I was reading the life of the Ahlulbayt one by one, the Imams, you know, and I realized the importance of Islam, you know. Imam is something we cannot really comprehend. And when you go into Najul Balagha, when I went to Pakistan in 1963, and at that time, and I was just come new into Islam, and I was pretty ignorant at that time still. And I bought the Najul Balagha at the airport in Karachi, and I never stopped reading. I met 3 people, Muslim, in Tehran with Najul Balagha, when they were totally against Islam. They were Germans, and they were married to Iranians, and never become. But when certain khutbah, they are so a normal person cannot cannot explain to you how Allah created the world, for example. Imam Ali is no problem to him. He would ask a question, we would take 1 hour to answer. He would answer it in 2 sentences. Now, who can do that? And when this is one thing, Imam Ali said, I have never been deceived, and I never deceived anybody. Oh, I said, if Imam Ali, can you? So then I studied the life of, I read the Tears and Tribute, this book I read that time. So when I went to Iran, I said, the first thing I want to do, go to Karbala. I want to see the place, you know. I want to see the earth giving witness to what happened at that time. And okay, when you go to Karbala, you know, and I went into Karbala in 1970, 59, 6, yeah. And yeah, 70. After 10 years, I managed to go. I saw Imam Khomeini there. He was a young man that time, so Hui there, and I went all the places, but it stayed in my heart forever, you know. Then I went again afterwards, before my husband died. We went to Iraq, and time of Saddam. We went again to Karbala, and my son. And, you know, you take your children to Karbala, they can, you know, face, you know, it's paradise. It's like, you know, Imam Hussein is a heart without tears, not a Shia. You know, I did some poetry on Imam Hussein. I did another poetry, Imam Ali, and I did a poetry about the light, you know, how my life. And I did some, I won one competition on the radio in Tehran. It was an international competition, how Islam changed my life. So I got the first prize on that, just to, you know, talk about. But Imam Hussein is never out of your life, you know. After that, he never left my, I gave one speech in a conference. There were young girls from, about 500 girls, and they wanted to hear me, you know, asking questions. And then they came afterwards and said, do you love Imam Hussein? I said, a heart without tears is not a Shia. And I said, if I didn't love Imam Hussein, it would be better I wasn't born. Because he brought back Islam without Islam, and he was Islam. And that is why, you know, somebody asked the question, how come Allah destroyed so many generations before, and the world is so bad and he doesn't destroy it? Because in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will not punish you as long as you are among them. Our Imam Zaman is among. He is part of the Prophet. He is when Imam Hussein, when the Prophet said, Hussein is from me and I'm from Hussein. So what? He's still among us. He's from Imam Hussein. He's from the Prophet, and he's from him. And Imam Zaman is descendant. That's what he earned in Karbala. He earned Imam Zaman. Imam Zaman. And what I do in Iran, I make janamas. I show you. I brought one for you, and I make them and I give them to people, and but the price is that they have to do 2 rakat namaz for Imam Zaman to come, to remember that we are waiting. And I said, there is no one luckier in this world. You might own the whole of California, but if you don't believe in Imam Zaman, in our Imam, your life is worthless. It's better you weren't born. This was the love for the Ahlulbayt brings us to this state of mind, and this level of thinking. Without them, not possible. Yeah, you see, no matter what hardship, we remember him when we drink water. And I made it a thing in my house when children were small. I wrote it over the sink. Remember Hussein when you drink water. And everybody said, Imam Hussein. And his last prayer, I am satisfied with your wish, O Allah. And this is his destiny. Imam Hussein, that's what made me also understood how Islam is greater than anything. He was willing to give up his whole family to sacrifice to continue Islam. At the time after a holy prophet, it was not important to Imam Ali to rule. It was not his priority. He didn't like, he liked the world, this world, because he understood the world. He's saying that this world is good if you understand it. He understood. It was his priority was to save Islam. He had very few friends, after the Prophet. They all went the other way. So Imam Hussein, the Prophet cried when he was born. And I said that the suffering in Karbala, how many wounds can you count in one day? What kind of wounds they are that after 1400 years we cry about them? What kind of wounds they were? Because they were wounds which hurt Allah. Prophet said, whoever hurts the Ahlulbayt, who hurts my family, Allah gets hurt. Not in the sense we get hurt, in the sense that people come so low that they ignore the family of the Prophet. When I meet a friend, what do you say? How's your family? Do I ask, how are your friends? How are your neighbors? No. I ask, how is your family? And in the Quran, Allah said, only ask one thing. And I think that guided many people. I know many people, they were guided by that. Only one thing, love for my family. Now, if Prophet would have said, hate my family, could they have done worse? Could they have done worse to the family of the Prophet? Ask them for love, and they destroyed, they destroyed the greater one, the book, the Quran. We're putting under our feet and the dunya on our head. That's what's coming. That's what the time was after the Prophet. Exactly the same. And nothing much has changed, because without love of Ahlul Bayt, there's no success. That I know, and I'm convinced that. And if there is, I don't want it. Because we Shias, we need something. We don't put our head on sheep or on wool, because we're not allowed to put our head on anything but stone or leaves or marble. So we need a system more. You always have a, I show you. It was an idea I had when I lived in Tehran still, and so I thought, when I used to go to the shrine in Tehran, and I saw the people with putting the things on the floor and little piece of paper sometimes, or piece, I said there must be a better idea. So I went home, and I didn't know how to stitch, got the machine, and I make, you see, like this, I make a pocket, you can put your thing in, you can always have it with you. Then you You know, people appreciate because of the simplicity. Then you close it, you have everything with you. So I made for Imam Zaman 313 and 50 for ladies. Ladies are a little bit more feminine. So I made 50 for them, and I make even now for people, for women. So this is what I make every free time. I remember my Imam Zaman. Imam Zaman, I have seen miracles from him. So if I don't believe in him, nobody will.